All right. So today on the First Time Storytelling a broadcast, my guest is John Kuhlman. John is a copywriter who helps outdoor brands make more money from their email and content and marketing. John is here to share the story of the first time he was given complete creative freedom to write and produce a commercial. Welcome to the broadcast, John.
Hello, how are you? I'm going to just kind of move my finger here for a second to make sure. Okay. I have dogs who like to bark in the middle of things. And somebody, of course, just across the street started doing some lawn work. So.
Ah, yes, the magic of turning, going live, and
yes,
the noises lining up. Yeah, always does happen. All right, John. So let's go ahead and frame your story. Give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you were even given the opportunity to make a commercial, and then we'll get into the actual making of your first ever commercial.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a copywriter, which means I don't do copyright law. A lot of folks think that. So I'm a writer and who makes commercials for people. And I've tried for years to come up with a good way of saying, how to answer that question. What do you do? And every time this just happened the other day, it's like, what do you do? So, I'm a writer. Oh, what books have you written? And it's like, well, it leads to this very long conversation that's boring on, I've written co-authored a couple books, but no one ever reads them. They're, technology or web related. And then you can say commercial writer, which is another way of saying it. And then people say, oh, what TV commercials have you done? And he's like, well, not in a long time. Everyone's dead who's probably starring in them. And then, we just say copywriter. And I honestly don't know where that comes from. So we just write words together for ads, brochures, nowadays YouTube scripts. The one I've been working on, it's a 30-minute infomercial for the last week and a half, so my brain might be a little fried this morning. But yeah,
how did you even get into becoming a copywriter?
I wanted to be a screenwriter.
Oh,
logical, right? Not really. I'll try to make stupid story short. I was working at an ad agency in Cincinnati, Ohio, and got into that because I'd always wanted to be a screenwriter. And write for TV and for movies. And a family friend was an art director at a fairly big agency in Cincinnati, and we started to hang out. And he goes, "Oh, what you should do instead of going to Hollywood like everybody else does, and you wait tables and you try, everybody's got a script, and you're just starving." And he goes, competing with thousands of other people. He goes, "Why don't you come work in an ad agency and be a copywriter?" It's like, well, why would I want to do that? Who wants to write newsletters or brochures? It's kind of boring. And he goes, no. I just came. Now, this is a guy in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he goes, I just came from a Huffy bike commercial. I art directed the commercial. And the director was Ridley Scott. And I want to say it was for Huffy bikes. And before Ridley Scott, this is between the second and third Alien movie, maybe. That's what Hollywood directors would do, and probably still do, to make money between projects as they direct commercials. And so he goes, you have a better chance of working with and meeting a director and meeting those Hollywood types if you come work at an agency. Plus you get a lot more practice because you're writing, 30-second stories instead of a 90-minute story. And so it's like, oh, okay, why not? So that's pretty much how I got into copywriting, and it just stayed that way.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and plus I have the attention span. Oh, there it goes. You can talk for a second.
That's okay. It's background noise.
Okay. Anyways, that's how I got into commercials or copywriting. And, the first job I had for usually writing commercials or radio spots back then. And so you're just part of a team that creates the concept and then executes it. So my job, as the writer, was to write the idea that we came up with as a group for the concept. And so to get to the point of the heart of this whole story is one of my more epic screw ups in this business was I had moved out to Las Vegas and I was working at an ad agency and was doing a lot of public relations kind of work at that point. So I wasn't really doing commercials, and I was getting burned out, doing the PR stuff. I was actually related to the Yucca Mountain project.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so that kind of feels like you're just trying to move a wall on anything on that subject. And so I got burned out, and then asked the bosses if I could kind of move over to some of the more creative stuff, which I really wanted to do. And they said, sure. So I worked with was it drug? It was a drug and alcohol rehab center that was just opening up. So they let me, write the commercial for that. I got to meet the production crew who was at a local TV station. Those guys did brilliant work. And, and kind of so we were the creative team for that. So that success led me to be the typical, mid 20-something-year-old who,
knows it all now.
Yep, I'm the expert. I have an answer for the question that you haven't asked, and that's the right one. So they let me take over an account, and I'm not going to name them because they're still in town. But it was fairly decent sized account. And, I was just starting to learn that humor is very difficult to pull off in those sense. Like you and I can sit and talk like this and make jokes, and it's funny because we have the context for that in the background. Or hopefully it's funny. It's when you're trying to deliver humor to a cold audience, it's not easy, at least not for me at the time. And so stuff that we thought was funny, my creative partner and I, we would laugh and jokes, oh, the client's going to love this. And then we'd go pitch it at the meeting and would just be met with silence. And, the jokes would just fall flat, or the humor was too out there. And it's like, oh man, we weren't doing it. Anyways, but that's just kind of, backing up a little bit. That experience with humor, and then I had the success with the other client, the drug and rehab center, and the commercial was pretty cool. And so they made the mistake, the bosses made the mistake of putting me in charge of the whole creative for another commercial for like I said, a decent sized business entity here in town. And no one checked my work. First mistake.
Can you say just which industry? Is it like restaurant, gambling?
Not gambling, business. I'll just say business recruitment.
Okay.
Kind of rhymes with Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
So anyways, this mystery group, a client, and I forget even what the message we were trying to get across was, which is also probably the mistake at the time too, is, forgetting the message, trying to be funny for the sake of being funny. So I didn't want to do so anyways, they let me concept the commercial, write the script. The direction was kind of handled by the TV station production crew, but I was also in charge of producing and making sure the product was good. So we came in, and the commercial was meant to be kind of this tongue-in-cheek spoof, and the person sitting at the desk and whatever the frustration they had, and they would, kind of shake their fist. And it was,
How long was this commercial?
I'm sorry?
How long was the commercial going to be?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay. Yeah.
30 seconds. That's all you got.
Not a lot of time.
Yeah. Or 28. It's like 28 and change. So you have to get this message across. And so if it was done correctly, it would be this kind of subtle, almost Monty Python-ish dry humor that would work. And
so hard to pull off.
Right. And my inspiration, and not many people know this, if somebody wants to Google it, I encourage you to do so, is Dick Orkin. It's Orkin. It's Dick Orkin's Radio Ranch. Dick has passed away, but he, during the maybe 80s and 90s at least, he was the king of radio commercials and just brilliant at delivering this very dry humor, and just hilarious. And Dick is and was my hero when it comes to comedy and advertising. And I was not Dick Orkins, obviously. So we had this concept, or I had this concept of this kind of tongue-in-cheek, dry humor. The script, to this day, I will still say the script was pretty good. Where it tanked was the production. And that's my fault. That's on my shoulders, because I wasn't able to convey my vision and what I thought was going to be funny to the other people on the team who were putting it together. So to kind of close that story, we did this commercial I thought was going to be great. I hope it comes out. And then you go through the editing, and then again, no one from the bosses at the agency looked at this. The client signed off on the script, watched the production. She was a little tense, maybe, watching it unfold. And so they get the final product. It goes on air. And I want to say that no one even really looked that closely at it, because they're just busy cranking out stuff, what agencies do. And it was a piece of crap. It was so bad. Instead of being funny and spoofing a cheesy commercial, it was a cheesy commercial. It was embarrassingly horrible. The client wasn't happy. Her boss at the chamber gave her an earful, how could you let this happen kind of stuff, which then came down to me of how could you let this happen? I'm like, you let me let it happen. Yeah, and so it was just horrible.
So when did you realize that it was horrible? Because were you there when they were filming it and it
I was there when they were filming?
Or you're like, this is not quite right, and this is not the way I had it in my head.
Well, it's kind of like that little voice that says danger that you ignore. That happened as soon as we started shooting the commercial. But part of the process is also, trusting your creative partners. So if you don't necessarily see what they're seeing at the moment, you have to trust that, they're seeing something that works, and you're just not quite, you don't have the filters in place to see how it's going to piece together. And so I, unfortunately, another lesson learned was trusted people along that process. And, so what was a piece of crap became a bigger piece of crap, became a huge steaming pile of crap that made it to the air, and then cost the agency the account, which is always a great feather in your career cap when you do that. And then as life goes, because Las Vegas is still a small town, I have run into this person at the client who's no longer there. I think in every job I've had, so this is what, early 90s, and we're 2020, and I think the last time I saw this person was 2017, 2018. I've seen her almost every year since then. And yeah, so it was a little awkward at first. Yeah, hey, I'm the guy that caused a bunch of grief for everybody. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
A little tough to shake it off. But it's you
yeah,
didn't lose your job, at least. That's a good thing.
not yet. I did eventually. I did eventually. Yeah,
It'll-
yeah. They started losing other clients. Not I was responsible for that one. But they had some other issues going on too, and then they eventually, well, like many
yeah.
do.
Well, you have to trust but verify.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Well, and it goes to show us like you have you get one success doesn't mean you're king of the world or anything, and life is always there to kind of kick you back down
yeah.
and remind you you have a
And
lot to
there's
learn.
just so very few people that give you actual honest feedback who will say like, yeah, John, I think this is crap. Like,
Oh yeah.
is this what you were envisioning? I mean, most people are just like, they're gonna get, especially if they're gonna get paid no matter what, right? They're gonna get paid no
Right.
matter what. And I know every time I ask feedback on someone, they say it's good until I ask more specific questions, and all of a sudden their true opinion comes out, and it's like, why ain't she that in the first place? Like it's a waste of resource, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time. Just speak the truth.
Well, and I think particularly more so with writing than some of the other things like design is everybody thinks they're a graphic designer to an extent. Everyone's an interior decorator, everyone's an artist of some sort. So I think they're more willing to share their opinions on stuff because it is a lot more subjective. With writing, what I've noticed is it's a very personal thing to a lot of people. So, they don't want to, they see, what I do is equivalent to what they do if they're journaling, for example. And so it's a very personal process. And, the struggling artist, the over emotional artist thing. And, I was fortunate. I grew up in a family of artists, of commercial artists, and who hated um, that mindset because it was kind of seen as a weakness or an excuse. It's like, well, you don't, if someone critiques or criticizes your art, it's because, it's like, oh, you just don't understand. The fault's on you. You don't understand what I'm trying to do. And in reality, it's like, no, the fault's on me. I was not able to convey what I'm feeling to you. I don't have the technical skill or the ability to convey that. So the written word to me is no different. So if I'm not able to convey that sense of humor, like in the case of that commercial, and have it mesh with all the visual elements, the sound elements, the lighting, and everything else, it's a failure. And that's exactly what happened. Because later I had a radio script that was horrible, 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 horrible. I mean, probably the worst piece of crap I ever have written. And because this is for not real estate, a developer. And I don't know if that one rhymes with Pulte Homes or American Homes, but it is one of those developers, and you have this laundry list of bullet points or factoids you have to get into. In this case, 60 seconds, and it's like, gosh, how do you make that interesting? Oh yeah, we have, every house has I can't remember what the features are, but it's a long list, and it's like, how do you make this interesting and tell a story? And so in that horrible commercial that I wrote, I had two older men who is retirement community playing golf and talking about, oh yeah, my new Pulte home has blah blah blah. Oh, that's great, Bob. What do you think? And but you just had to meet a deadline, turn it in, so it was done. Came back from the radio production company in Phoenix, and I listened to it, and I was like, wow, that's really good. Who wrote that? And they go, no, you did. I said, well, it'd been like 3 months It's like, yeah, those are, man, they made my crap sound really good. That sounds like a good commercial now. And so, to kind of come full circle was learning that, good production can save a crappy script, and bad production can ruin a horrible script. So, over the years, I've, kind of analyzed these things and get to see where I was like, oh man, I can see what the writer was trying to do. And they just weren't able to pull it
Yeah,
off.
just wanted to both pull it off in the production.
Yeah.
Now, so that series event, obviously you're running into that lady for
Yeah.
years, decades afterwards. But like when it happened and you watched commercial and you're like, this is crap, and I created crap. I lost an account. Like,
Yeah.
how did you internalize that? Like, what were you like, okay, did you make a list of everything that went wrong? Here's what I need to learn from it. Or you're like, it is what it is. You have some hits, you have some misses. Like, what was the dialogue taking place?
It's probably a little bit of both. It was just had that discussion with another writer this morning who's, was talking about, this is through a writing group, and she's on deadline, I believe, today, and nothing's coming to her. Everything is garbage, she feels, and she has the deadline. And it's for a new client, and she's started the morning frustrated, went, took a shower, came out and sat on the edge of the tub and started crying her eyes out. It's like, what do I do? I'm just lost. And, I think if this commercial, if I had tanked that initial commercial, like as my very first project, I would probably be, waiting tables now. To have that kind of blow early in your career is tough. It's tough to come, because you doubt that you're able to do, the imposter syndrome. Fortunately, I had some wins prior to that, so I was able to, I call it like having credits in the bank account. So I had some credits in the account that the deposit or the withdrawals didn't deplete my savings. So yeah, you take a look if you can. Ideally, you would have a mentor or somebody who would say, "Hey, John, this is where this one, the wheels came off this bus bad." But no one did. It sucked, and agencies unfortunately are just kind of, it's all about the revenue generation, so they move on to the next, and kind of mercenary that way. But yeah, and but having gone through that, I've spent the rest of my life not fixated on that, but it's like, okay, what did go wrong with that, and how can I fix it, and what is in my ability to fix.
Yeah.
And then the rest you just kind of let go and move on.
Well, I mean, it's a tough. Doing anything with just one brain, the fact
And
that
a
no
small one,
one, yeah, well, that no one gave feedback is just or if nobody gives you feedback, then you need time. You need time away, and then come back and review and be like, maybe not. A lot. I wish I could afford a copywriter. It's on my to-do list in the future.
yeah.
But a lot of what I do, I create it all. And I've realized I used to be very quick at publishing things. So whether it's a blog post, a video, or just an image, and now I've slowed slowed my roll so
Mm-hmm.
that I have more time with it, and then more iteration of speaking it, of thinking it through, of looking at it, and each and every time it improves, but it's still only from my point of view and mindset. So
Right.
that's a tough one, for even copywriters, and because ultimately you need to know the market and you have to step into their shoes to provide the product that they're looking for. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah. It's a
but
lot of
it's
psychology.
yeah, and in some ways it's a really great self-development process and tool, because you have to step into so many other people's shoes and see things from their point of view, what's attractive to them and what appeals to them, and it might not you might not be the demographic at all. So you have
Right.
to understand other people to be able to appeal to them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's business owners are usually the worst at understanding their audience. I mean, almost across the board. They think they do because, or the smaller business owners, because they've grown up with the product or service. They're very familiar with it, and so a lot of times my job is to be a translator. To take it from the expert who knows everything about the widget, to somebody like you and me who knows nothing about the widget, and either doesn't know that we need the widget in our life, or we need something like the widget in our life. But why is your widget better than this widget? And so it's kind of like being like a translator in that sense. And so, a recent project, I think we were talking about before the call, is, I have to get in the mind of, for this infomercial, 30-minute infomercial, of a middle-aged woman who's going to yoga or wants to try yoga to lose some body fat, get a little stronger, so forth, a little leaner. And I'm not a 35-year-old woman, last I checked. So in copywriting, I get to be a method actor, is usually how I describe it. I have to get inside the head of these people and, figure out where they are in that purchase process, and, what their pains are, what their hopes are, what their fears are, what they feel like when they wake up in the morning. So instead of acting that out on stage, I just act it out on paper. And so it's a lot of fun. So that takes me back to, I eventually realized, well, I am doing, screenplays and script writing. It's just a different format, and, it's all storytelling. But, to your point earlier, it is very personal, like the writing that you're doing can be very personal. And like I said, people don't want to necessarily hurt your feelings because it's personal. And so that's, that bit me in the butt, with writing those commercials back then with no feedback. So, oh yeah, it's great. Well, okay. It's got a sentence at the beginning and a sentence at the end. It looks like you completed the story. Good job. But yeah, it's that critical feedback.
I used to be a very sensitive kid, and I definitely grew way out of that. And then I got to the point where, why will no one actually I'll even take criticism, because then at least I will pull out of it what's useful.
Right.
Even if you're just hating on someone, there's probably still some data in there to be pulled out. Like, I don't take anything personally. So it's just like, okay, if it doesn't work, I rather know before I invest money into it and put it out there. And then it's still great feedback, because your market is going to talk to you, but it's costing you money, and it's costing you lost time because other people, I lost opportunities because other people weren't able to just verbalize like, hey, this. But it's one of the things I'm realizing more and more doing the first time, this broadcast, and now going out and bringing the concept of first time storytelling to people, is that people suck at expressing themselves. I mean, they're not good at sharing their thoughts, their feelings, and emotion, and understanding why they think and feel that way, and then expressing that in a clear, concise fashion. So it is just, and something that I used to be very guilty of, and it's storytelling, personal storytelling, that allowed me to be able to start communicating who I was. So I know how powerful it is on the personal side of the house, and obviously on the business side of the house, it's huge and very important. But on the personal side of the house, it's also so important, so that people can make those strong connection, because they actually understand each other. I came up, I was coaching my cohort of first time story coaches, and I said, after conversations, I want people to not walk away with an opinion of me, but an understanding of who I am. But what happens when we communicate, people they half listen. They're still just paying attention to their own internal dialogue. And then they get an opinion about what you said and who you are. And then they walk away. So, one, that they never really heard you and they certainly didn't understand you. So, but just like you said, the responsibility is on the person that's looking to express themselves to do that the best possible way possible so that the other person can hear it and understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I joke that I have, a face for radio and a voice for print. And there's a reason I don't do public speaking is because, as anyone who's watched this over the last many minutes, I've probably talked in circles, and not the easiest to follow. But if I can write it down, I can make myself sound brilliant.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah. It's also the process of, yeah. So in the first time storytelling, I teach is the process of outlining and then rehearsing and practicing, and there's not a whole lot of people can step on a stage and deliver a moving message and speech without first rehearsing, thinking it
yeah,
through, and ideally not writing it down, because then you feel like you're reading a script.
right.
You should still be inspired and moved by what you have to say. So there's a little freedom in that, but certainly you have to, you have to think it through and take it for a couple, take it out for a walk.
Well, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work and preparation, and I think a lot of people just see the end result of, oh, that person looks seamless up on at the TED Talk, talking, and presenting this information, and like, light bulb moment. I've written speeches for politicians for 10, 15 years, and again, you usually don't get the luxury of time. So if I was writing a speech for you, for example, if you're going to go talk to a group, ideally I would spend quite a bit of time with you, getting your speech patterns down and how you talk, and some of the analogies and metaphors that you like to use, that resonate, before I even sit down to write the speech. Because same as it, like, history repeats itself. I've written speeches that were pretty good and smart, and then I watched the person get up there, and so today we have in a tough mission ahead, and it's like, oh, okay, I need to shorten this up, for her speech pattern and how she talks, short simple sentences, and then as life goes, I would do that for the next person. And he's like, I don't talk like that. It's like, well, yeah, you do, but in their head, they're much more profuse, and, use $5 words. So yeah, it's the
Yeah.
balance. And
Like, I know I use much bigger words, or there's certain words I will use in my writing. I will not use it in my speaking because I cannot pronounce them right.
yep,
And there's nothing like getting stuck on the word and that just kills the entire flow of the sentence or even the story or the speech what you're trying to do. It's just like, no, do not use that word there. And
yeah,
sometimes people actually use words in their bios, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a tough one to get off.
yeah. I have to write about, the hormones for this current project, and there's two thyroid hormones, T3 and T4. I won't even try and pronounce what T3 is spelled out, or T4, but I had to put it in there in case the speaker wants to take a shot at saying them to sound, smart. But because the audience doesn't really know what T3 and T4 is. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a back and forth, and that's what's, I always encourage with people is you develop a dialogue of back and forth to get that story out there, because you'll see something that I don't see, that I think I'm saying, but I'm not. The voices in my head are connecting those dots, but they're not making it to the paper. And yeah, I had
Yeah.
one
And
boss.
when
Go ahead.
and again, I admire the work that copywriters do, because the more I dig into it, it's just headlines. I mean, just a simple headline. There's so much that goes into that.
Oh, it's art form,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it's just like, I just want to, I just want to put something out there that makes sense, and then I'm done. And then,
Yeah.
it's backtracking and be like, okay, is this every word selection? Is that the best word, you
Right.
know, to get the feeling, to get the thoughts going, and a lot of it is completely on a subconscious level because people don't even realize what you are doing in the usage of certain words.
Yeah.
So it gets a little, I find it fascinating, but as a business owner that wants to do so many other things, it's just like, this is really interesting. I just don't have time with it for it. So
Yeah.
throw down
That,
whatever's the fastest and then moving on. And then it's just like,
yeah.
someday
Well,
I'm going to hire somebody to make this better.
you mean I always encourage people to try it and do it because it's a great exercise and forces you to think about what you're actually selling, and to look at it from the consumer's eye. But for example, like a YouTube commercial, you have 3 to 5 seconds to get that hook in, or they're clicking on. So how do you convey what you're trying to the message you're trying to get across in an interesting way? It's like a soap opera. It's like, oh, what happens next in 3 to 5 seconds? And headlines from when people used to read magazines.
Yeah.
One of my favorites um, was, I forget, this was in Cincinnati for a. I wish I would have written it for a hospital or cosmetic surgery center, and so most of the cosmetic surgery procedures back then were nose jobs. Breast augmentation was just, I think, coming into its heyday, and so they had a picture on a I think a nightstand, and so it was a frame picture of dad, and then a frame picture of what looked like to be his daughter, and the headline was something like, "Mary has her father's nose. Unfortunately, it looked better on him, or it looks better on him." That was it. And it's like, oh, it had nothing to do with cosmetic surgery by looking at it at first. But that leads you to go, oh, what's next? What is this about? And then you scroll down and you see the bottom of there's the cosmetic surgery center. Stuff like that. So it's not saying, hey, Mary needs a nose job. Here's where you go for the best one in town.
Yeah.
$9.99 this week. So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is hard. You have to, and you're right. I mean, and it's storytelling. It certainly is, screenwriting, because it's just like in movies, you don't even understand what is left out in order to engage your mind to fill it in. So it's more personalized to you, and all of that great stuff with the psychology. But then it's not foolproof either, because not everybody is the same.
Right.
And that's, I'll admit, one of the biggest drawback is I'm not like the majority of people and customers. I only buy when I need something. Like, I don't care how you pitch it. If I don't need it, I'm not going to buy it. If I need it,
Right.
it's going to be very quick. Like, I'm very quick decision making. And it doesn't matter how many options that you give me, I will narrow it down very quickly. And so it's just like, I'm counter. And then giving somebody a preview is something good, because so a lot of YouTube will give you a preview of what you're going to watch so that you'll watch. Well, I've already decided I'm going to watch, so the preview annoys me, because now you're just delaying me getting into the content that I'm here to receive. So it's just. But when I have to do things like, okay, well, I need to add a preview, but then it's counter to what I like to do. So it's like, no.
Right. Yeah, and it's knowing, taking your best guess on where you are in that, your customer journey of where you are in that process of buying or
Yeah.
wanting this product. And, and then once you figure that out, how do you get that message in front of you? Is it email? Is it a website? Is it a video? Is it a TV commercial? Is it, radio kind of broadcast to everybody and hope that you're interested? If you listen to that music by, age group or other demographics, with the online stuff, you can just get pretty precise. on who you're sending that ad
Yeah,
to.
but again, it costs money, right? Because
Yep.
it's you have to, and then you keep narrowing down but
Yeah.
if again though, it's fascinating as somebody who's fascinated by human nature, it is a fascinating thing. But again, um I've got us way off topic, but because
Yep.
I'm fascinated, like copywriting is such a fascinating field because of all of those reasons that we covered. So let's tell
Let's
people
wrap it
how to
up.
get let's get people how to get in touch with you, and then we'll get into the first time lightning round.
The easiest way is just through the website at Ronin Creative Group. It's RONIN creativegroup.com. It has info on how to get in touch and all that good stuff.
Awesome,
I
fabulous.
don't do social media too much for
Oh,
business.
really?
No, not for business. No, for
Oh,
personal
but you do
or music. But
copywriting for social media.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
just try and keep that part of my life separate from the social
From
media world.
Yeah. Well, fair fair enough. If I was given the option, I would not be on social media at all. But
Yeah.
okay, let's play the first time lightning round. The way it
Okay.
works is I'm gonna ask John 10 different first time options. If it's something he's done before, we swipe up. Something never done, not interested, we go left. Something never done, would like to do, we go right. All right, let's do this.
I'll try and remember.
Sponging. So, art, sponging.
Never heard of it, and I don't know what context. I don't know what. Here's a question mark.
There's a question mark. So it would be either some people do it for like interior design where they'll sponge a
Oh,
wall,
painting.
or yeah, or on a yeah.
God, okay. I thought it was some new thing going on. Um, yes, I've done it. Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
yep, done
Okay.
it.
Yes, I've done it.
What did you what was the project?
Spent way too long applying that paint technique to the bedroom. Never do it again.
Did it come out good though?
Oh yeah, no, actually, it was probably the best house painting I've done.
Just way too long.
Yeah, just don't look at. I didn't do it in these walls, but don't look at the seams too close.
Okay, next one. Go
Yes,
swing dancing.
unfortunately, yes.
Oh, why unfortunately?
I hate dancing.
Oh.
I have two left feet.
Well, I'm glad you actually went and tried it nonetheless.
My wife loves dancing, so yes.
Okay. Well, then gotta soldier on for the
That's right.
significant other. Okay, donate blood. Oh, done that. Do you remember your first time?
I think I was actually trying to donate plasma to get money to buy Christmas presents when I was in college.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
Next one, use battle ropes. So in the gym, those ropes.
I want to do it, but I haven't had the chance yet.
Okay, so that's a right. Can food, so canned fruits or vegetable, like any sort of canning.
Like I've canned them myself or I've eaten them.
You canned it yourself. Done that. What was your first canning
I'm
experience?
from Ohio, man. This is what we do. Probably helping with green beans.
By yourself, with mom, with grandma?
For mom, and then the last time I tried it here was with grapes from my backyard.
Oh, nice. Wait, you grow grapes in your backyard here in Vegas, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
They're little tiny things. I can't get them very big, but yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
A lot of work. A lot of work. I won't do it again. A lot of work for just a little bit of jelly.
A little bit of jelly. Okay. Well, but that's yeah, that's cool. Okay. Next one. Play Clue, the game Clue.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Done that.
Favorite
Invest in real estate.
Would like to, but
Never
not
done
yet.
it. Would like to do it. That's a right.
Yeah, someday. maybe.
Okay, make a Halloween costume. So homemade
Oh, yeah.
Halloween costume. Done that. What was your first costume that you've made?
As a kid, I have probably some sort of pirate, a bandana and a eye patch kind of thing.
All right,
That
because
is,
you said as a kid, that means there's a as an adult. So what
yeah.
was that?
As an adult, I dressed up as when I go around with my kids, as a middle-aged suburbanite. So I just wear the clothes from work, come home, and would go trick or treating. That was my costume.
Ah, all right. Well, since you are a musician, play the trumpet is the next one.
Um, yeah, but not seriously, just
Not
noodling
seriously.
somebody.
What instruments do you play seriously?
Bass guitar.
Ah, okay. What's is that? That's a cello behind you?
That is a bass guitar.
Oh,
That
what?
is an upright. That's an upright. That's an upright bass.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I got quite the collection there. Learning to play the guitar is on my list.
It's
Of
fun.
yeah. The final one is drive a Ferrari.
Oh, I want to.
Want to. All right. Well, the Las Vegas
I haven't
Speedway.
yet. Is
That's
that where to
it's a
go?
heck of an experience. That's why I did
Okay.
on the
I've
first
heard.
of 2020. So I started the year off right.
Good for you. Good for
Drove a
you. Is
Ferrari
it
for the
is
first
so? Is
time
it
on
really
the
fun?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was starting to get dark and I suck at driving when it's dark. So
Uh-huh.
that slowed me down. So I'm gonna go back to drive a Lamborghini and make sure it's during the day. So but it's great because the instructor that's next to you like really tells you what to do. So you really get to and it's a racetrack. So you learn to take the curves and it's a little
Oh, neat.
nerve-wracking, but it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not heard a couple people who love the experience going
Oh,
there.
it's
So
awesome.
add it
Totally,
to.
totally would go back. All right. So, final question is how have you been making the best out of the current situation with the pandemic?
Staying busy. That's I know kind of not. I don't want to mean that to be a snarky answer, but it's not something I would have predicted. If I had known a pandemic was coming, um, I came back. I was up hiking when the news and came back into town to find the news that things were shutting down, um, and also from other marketing copywriting friends who had lost, within 24 hours most of their income. I was fortunate that I had folks I worked with who were ramping up moving online, and so I've been busy and busier ever since.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story with us, your expertise and your knowledge. And if there's any uh, aspiring copywriters out there, hopefully you gain some great knowledge from this. And if you are in business, if you're an entrepreneur, do not overlook everything we talked about copywriting and how just important it is to your business.
Thank you.